What's going on, my soul family? Welcome back to another episode of the Awake with Jake show. On today's episode, I'm going to be dropping in and sharing with you about breaking the good girl template. Now, before I get started, I want to share my appreciation and gratitude for you being here. It wasn't that long ago that I was doing live Facebook videos in my mother's basement with 2 people watching at the time. I had just quit my dream job and moved into my mother's basement, and I said to myself, I want to help people. I don't know how, but I'm going to help people. So I started sharing my story. I started sharing my experiences of things that had helped me with my healing journey. And those 2 people watching, one was my mother, other was my friend, and that's all I had. That was my only audience. So every single person that I reach with my messaging, I'm always so grateful for. If I can touch one person and help them in their lives, that means a lot to me. So thank you for being here with me. On today's episode, I'm going to be first breaking down the signs that you are carrying this good girl template, and then really how to step into your power deeper as a woman. And that's going to kind of come throughout this episode. So I also want to share with you that on April 1st, Melissa and I are putting out a new course called Awakened Intimacy. This is coming out April 1st. This course will take your intimate life from dried up to drenched. So if you would like to be on the wait list for this course, go to my website, jakewoodard.com, and make sure you're on that wait list. And by being on the wait list, you will get $200 off this course for the month of April. Once again, that's jakewoodard.com, and this launches April 1st. So let's get right into the episode today. When it comes to holding this good girl template, first of all, when you hear that, close your eyes and just feel into this. If you are a woman listening to this right now, do you feel a residue of that in your body? Do you feel a resonance, a vibration of this idea that you need to be a good girl? Have you carried this with you your entire life because you've been conditioned to believe that you need to be a good girl? You need to put everyone else's needs before you, and you come last. So you will find yourself people pleasing when you carry this good girl template. You will please other people out of your own guilt for the fear of being rejected, for the fear of not being accepted, and for the fear of being too much. So when a woman carries this good girl template, she will often put everyone else's needs above hers, put herself last, but eventually she starts to get to the point of resentment. She starts to feel resentful. She starts to feel resentful because her energies are actually imbalanced because she's always giving. So she's always more in the masculine energy because she's always give. And she's never receiving. Her flower is never really receiving because she's people pleasing. The next thing is the inconvenience. She feels like a huge inconvenience. So for example, she will really struggle to ask for things that she really desires, specifically in intimate relationships. For example, maybe she is with a masculine man, but she struggles to ask him for what she really wants. So she never really gets it because she's not clearly expressing her deep desires and inviting the masculine to step in. The truth about the masculine, we masculine people, we love to give. We love to provide. We love to protect. We love to lead, especially when it's invited. So you're not an inconvenience as a woman. You are not an inconvenience. You're not asking for too much, especially when you're expressing your desires. When these come from a place of clarity and pure intentions, you're not being an inconvenience. In fact, people want to serve you. People want to give to you. So allowing yourself to receive that people really do want to give to you. It feels good to receive, especially as the feminine. And the beauty about this, when the masculine gives to the feminine, there is a fragrance that is released from her body that is actually very nourishing to him. The next thing I want to talk about is being apologetic, apologizing for your presence, apologizing for your energy, sending someone an email saying, I'm sorry to bother you today, but I was wondering if you could blank. No, no, no. Delete. Fuck that. When you apologize for who you are, you reduce yourself, you retract, you shrink, you go into your turtle shell. So, what I've experienced working with a lot of women is they have this retraction energy instead of an expansion energy, expanding their radiance throughout this world, which at this time and point on our timeline, our world needs all the radiance that we can get. Our world needs all the radiance that we can get. So if you find yourself retracting your radiance because you feel like an inconvenience or you feel the need to people please, that is when you should be expanding and opening your heart so the fragrance of your heart as a woman is being released out into this world. That is where your real power is. Your power is not when you're retracted. Your power is when you are expanding your radiance throughout this world. And you'll notice the more you practice opening, letting down that masculine shield, softening into your body, more you practice these things, the more you actually get what you really want. Because you invite that into your space. You magnetize it to you as the feminine. The next thing I want to talk with you about is over explaining. I know I'm going to get some smiles at this one. Do you find yourself constantly over explaining? Maybe you set a boundary with somebody, and then you need to explain the boundary and over explain the boundary. Do you find yourself doing that? When you set a boundary with somebody, it doesn't mean you need to explain the boundary. When you speak your truth about something, it doesn't mean you need to explain the truth that you just spoke. Does that make sense? So instead of over explaining yourself, say what you feel and leave it at that. The next thing, let's talk about your heart and body being retracted, being closed, shoulders pulled forward, throat very tight because you're not communicating and expressing yourself clearly, chest feeling very tight, hips very tight, stomach in knots. All of these things are a sign of you carrying this template of retraction, this good girl template that causes you to actually, your physical body has a manifestation that literally starts to twist and bind. How does your body feel in this moment? Just scan down through your body. Do you feel soft, open, and receptive, or do you feel closed, guarded, and rigid? Because if you do, then this template that was instilled in you to always be the good girl doesn't allow you to be fully expressed. Which leads me to the next point, which is having repressed emotions. So, what happens when we repress our emotions for man and woman? They get bottled up and eventually they explode. So, you start to feel a deep sorrow. And especially as the feminine, when she carries a lot of repressed emotions in her body, it's like the dam building up. The waters become stagnant and she becomes very sad. Her world begins to darken. It loses its radiance. The feminine waters, when they become stagnant, they become poisonous in her body. So when she's in the state of retraction and people pleasing and being an inconvenience, feeling like she's an inconvenience, not being an inconvenience, because she's carrying this good girl template and she's so guarded and rigid. Maybe she's protecting herself with this masculine shield. Her waters become stagnant. Her feminine essence gets blocked in her body, and it causes a whole shitload of problems, not only for her at a physical level, but also with her intimacy. The next thing that I want to talk with you about is the disconnection of sensuality. Feeling disconnected from your true sexual essence. this life force energy that moves through you. You see, a lot of women that I've worked with over the years, they have expressed that they don't enjoy themselves sexually at an intimate sexual level because they can't give up control. So they really struggle with orgasm because they're holding on to control. Their body's so tight and rigid, their mind is locked, and they're trying to look and be and act a certain way and try to control everything, especially in that intimacy, that they can't just soften and surrender and open and allow her feminine waters, her feminine juices just to flow through her body. And that's really what she wants the most. Now, in order for this to happen, of course, there's a component of the masculine, if she's with the masculine in that moment. And she can do this on her own. But if she's being intimate with the masculine, there's a component for his safety, his presence, his clarity, his leadership, for her to feel safe. Now, she must learn how to feel safe first within herself. Because a woman that doesn't feel safe within herself and she's repressed her emotions and she's kind of tiptoed through life, she will never be fully expressed in a healthy way. So she'll either be overly expressed, we will say, and it's almost like the water dam is broke and she's flooding everywhere, or she'll be repressed and contracted. So there's that kind of middle ground of healthy balance. A grounded feminine woman is very attractive to the masculine. A grounded feminine woman who has healthy expression and softness is very attractive to the masculine because there is space for his masculine energy there. The last thing that I want to talk with you about is one of the deepest things that women carry, which is body shame. Body shame. Not accepting of your body. Maybe you carry trauma in your body from past experiences that you've gone through. And you develop shame around it. It's kind of like shame is almost like scar tissue. When you get a cut in your hand, say, that body, your body starts to build scar tissue around that cut. Shame is kind of the same way. It scar tissues over that wounded area. And eventually it's cloaked in shame, in that vibration of shame. Now, because a lot of women have experienced deep pain, just like men have as well, they've built scar tissue over their wounds with shame. Where for men, it's more anger. Like my biggest thing was anger. I built scar tissue of anger around my wounds. So for women, it tends to be more shame-based. For the way they look, they're constantly criticizing themselves, comparing themselves to other women, putting themselves down, reducing themselves. So my invitation to you, if you find yourself doing that, comparing yourself to other women, criticizing yourself, to shift out of that, to shift more into acceptance and self-love by just reminding yourself, I see you. I see the scars, the wrinkles, the stretch marks, whatever you see, and just love that. Love that, whatever you carry, because you're doing the best you can. You're doing the best that you can in this life. And when you put so much pressure on yourself to be perfect, to look perfect, to show up perfect, perfection is a fucking scam, okay? Perfection is a fucking scam. Doing the best you can, showing up the best you can with self-acceptance and self-love, allowing your radiance to be released as you step fully into your true feminine essence, as you dive deep into your true feminine waters. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Once again, if you want to experience awakened intimacy, and this is for people in a relationship or who are not in a relationship, make sure you are on the wait list for April 1st launch date, and you will save $200 off our new course, Awakened Intimacy. The link is in the show notes, or you can go to jakewoodard.com to get on the wait list today. Once again, I encourage you to step deeply into your true feminine power. If you're a woman and you find yourself carrying this good girl template, it's time to shift out of that. Thank you for being here with me. As always, stay open, stay grounded, and stay connected to that powerful source within you. I love you and I appreciate you.